Good afternoon from the farmer's garden. I'm one of the farmers and I'm back in the kitchen. Today we're going to be using up some eggs to make a chocolate pie. So if you've ever been intimidated by a chocolate pie, I'm about to show you how to do one in the microwave, which makes it much faster and a little bit easier. So we'll go ahead and get started. I have already prepared a crust. I used the same easy press-in crust that we used for the quiche. So that recipe is over there on the quiche video if you haven't already watched that. And then we'll just be making the pudding. Okay, so this is a chocolate cream pie and we've got everything already measured out today. We're going to start with 3/4 of a cup of just granulated sugar. And then we've got 4 tablespoons of flour. You could also substitute 3 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch. And cornstarch actually tends to work better, but flour is what I have today. Then we've got 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And we need a pinch of salt. There's some salt. And 2 cups of milk. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and whisk this, kind of get those dry ingredients mixed with the milk. All right, now we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Y'all know I never measure the vanilla. That's always an eyeball. And we've got a tablespoon of butter. Drop that in. All right, so now the eggs. I've got 3 fresh eggs, already washed, and we're just going to separate these. You can use an egg separator, you can use the shell. So to use the shell, you're going to pull it apart into 2 pieces. I don't know how well you can see that. So there's part of the egg in there. You dump the yolk back over into this one, and that's the white that's falling out, like this. Dump it back across one more time, see if we can get some more of that white out. And remember, we are saving the whites because that's what we're going to use to make the meringue. All right. There we go. So the yolk goes into there, and the white is in here. I'm going to put the white into the mixer bowl for the stand mixer. Okay. So I'll show you one more time using the shell. There we go, so there's the white dropping, dump back across. You can also just use an egg separator that you can buy in the kitchen gadget aisle, like that. Or, this is a benefit to fresh eggs. Most of the time, now watch it not work this time, but most of the time, this is how I actually separate them. So whole egg went in the bowl, the whole egg is in there. Because these are nice and fresh, those yolks are nice and firm. So there's the yolk. There's the white that's falling off of it there. Get all that white off, because that will actually make little clumps in the pie. All right, so there's 3 egg whites. I'm gonna wash my hands. All right, so we've got 3 egg whites here, and we've got all of the pudding ingredients in here. All right, so this part is going to go in the microwave, and we're going to start it out. I like to start it at about 2 minutes and just kind of see how it goes, and then we'll stop and stir. So that's popped in for 2 minutes, and then the whites are going to go over on the stand mixer, and we will be adding about 3/4 of a cup of sugar to them. We'll let them start to beat, and then we'll add that sugar to them. So the microwave is running and the mixer is running. Okay, so the mixer is going to be over here. We're going to turn it up pretty high, and that's going to beat the air into the whites. And we'll just sprinkle some sugar and just a dash of cream of tartar in there with that. and that will whip in. You can see the air bubbles starting to form. All right, microwave is beeping, so we'll get this out. The first time or two you can handle it, and then you'll need hot pads after that. So you can see it got warm enough that the butter is starting to melt, but it's obviously not thickening yet. So we're going to stir it. All right. Got one of those egg yolks that wasn't broken up, so now that's broken in there. And another 2 minutes in the microwave. So I'm going to keep repeating this process, waiting for the chocolate pudding to start to thicken. Okay, so you can see that the meringue is starting to thicken up. We're not quite to forming stiff peaks yet, but it is getting there. And check the pudding again. Yep, that's getting hotter. Let me get a hot pad. So it's getting hotter, obviously, and it is starting to thicken just a little along the edges. So we want to get that good and whisked up this time so that we don't have any clumps of anything. That cocoa powder is breaking down in there a little better now. We're going to put it back in. This time we're going to do it for 1 minute so that we can keep a closer eye on it. Let's turn this off a second so you can hear me. All right, so we're waiting for these stiff peaks. Do you see when I pull the beater up, it forms that peak. So that's about where we want this. I think I'm going to actually add just a little bit more sugar and beat that a little longer. Okay, so I added some more sugar to this. I think it's good now. I will say a meringue is very weather dependent, okay? Humidity is not great for meringues, and I have been making jelly in the kitchen all day. So it's pretty steamy in here. Hopefully this doesn't go flat, but we'll see. All right, so checking that pudding, you can see it's setting up now. It might actually be, yeah, we're gonna call it. That's it right there. Okay. So let me put the camera down so I have 2 hands. All right, so we've got prepared pie crust. We've got our pudding already, the cream part of our pie. And now we are going to just pour this into the crust. Funny story about this pie. Last Easter, during COVID, I really wanted a chocolate pie. Wanted one so bad. And we were gonna break the rules and have my mom, or my parents and my sister and her husband over for Easter lunch. We're like, we're gonna eat outside, we're gonna follow the rules as best we can. And I'd already told them we were having a chocolate pie. And then I got ready to make it and I had no cocoa powder in the house. So you can actually make this substituting 2 pouches of hot cocoa mix instead of the cocoa powder. It works quite well and it's very delicious. All right, so next we're gonna add the meringue. Like I say, humidity will mess with the meringue, and I am telling you it has messed with this one. It is very humid in here after making the jelly. I really didn't think about that until I started making it. It probably was not the best day to demonstrate this, but it'll eat just fine. So it will be a little bit flatter meringue, but it'll taste delicious. Calf slobber, we like to call it. Here we go. All right, so spread that on there. Seal it to the edges good. And then if you'll sprinkle a little bit more sugar across the top, that'll kind of bake it up nice and golden. So I've got the oven preheated to 350. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in and let it bake. All right, 15 minutes later, there's the finished product. Yum. So obviously the meringue is a little bit disappointing today. The humidity in the kitchen just kind of messed with that. But you get the general idea, and so I'll have the recipe in the description below. And I hope that you enjoyed visiting the kitchen with me today. Be sure and like and subscribe to the channel. That's hard to get out. And come back when you can stay longer. I'm gonna be over here eating pie.